Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our webinar, Transforming HR with Dovetail HR Service Delivery Software. I'm David Grayson. I'm excited to get us started today as we embark on a journey to explore the cutting-edge capabilities of Dovetail HR. After a brief preview of what you're going to see today in the webinar, I'll be turning you over to my trusted colleague, Drew McKay, a Senior Solutions Engineer with Dovetail. I'll also note that another colleague of mine, Kane Frisbee, is with us today, and he's going to be helping me answer questions in chat. So as you think of them, please send them our way and we'll get those answered for you. In today's fast-paced, certainly ever-evolving strategic landscape, HR professionals face a multitude of challenges. From managing complex cases to fostering employee engagement, the demands on HR teams are as great, possibly greater than they've ever been before. Dovetail's certainly here to help, but we're also here to assist you in truly revolutionizing the way you manage HR services. I do want to make mention that for the third consecutive year, we have ranked #1 in Sapient Insights Group Technology Survey. True, that's okay. Got a little head, no problem. And so if anybody's familiar, Sapient Insights Group is now in their 26th year annually of putting out an HR technology survey. Dovetail ranked #1, like I said, for the third year consecutively in the HR service delivery section. We worked very hard to get there. We're certainly going to work a lot harder to stay there. So throughout this webinar, we'll be delving deep into the core features and functionalities of Dovetail HR, designed specifically to address the needs of modern HR departments. Whether you're seeking to streamline your HR case management, empower employees with self-service tools, or leverage the power of artificial intelligence, Dovetail HR should have something for every HR professional. Today, we'll be exploring key modules such as HR and ER case management, an employee portal with groundbreaking HR Copilot powered by GenAI, robust HR knowledge management capabilities, and advanced analytics and reporting functionalities. I do think, though, what truly sets our platform apart is it's designed for commitment to efficiency and insight. For example, if you feel you're ready to offer a chatbot to your associates, our GenAI Copilot seamlessly integrates with the employee portal, allowing employees to access HR information and receive instant answers to their queries. It can be a powerful, massive efficiency gain that frees up both you and your colleagues to focus on more strategic work. And for organizations operating in a high growth model, perhaps by acquisition, we've seen our clients able to add far less HR professionals to account for that growth, while most importantly, never missing a beat on their employee satisfaction scores. So whether you're a seasoned HR professional looking to elevate your processes or a business leader seeking to optimize HR operations, our hope is that this webinar is tailor-made for you. So in today's demo, we're going to start with the employee experience. So we'll start with the look from the employee portal. We're also going to focus on the HR Copilot. And since Microsoft Teams is so prevalent in so many technological landscapes in HR and just our organizations in general, we're going to take a look at what that experience feels like with the MS Teams integration. And then we're going to open a case through email and keying on some automation. We'll move over to the HR experience, and we will get you comfortable with the console. And then we will also show some case examples of some of our HR case management. And then we're going to wrap up today with reports and analytics. So without further ado, let's dive into the world of Dovetail HR, discover how it can potentially transform your HR landscape. So sit back, relax. Hopefully you've got a tea or a coffee. And Drew, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, great. Thank you, David. All right, we're going to start off, as we indicated, with the employee experience. And I'm taking you right into the employee portal, or at least one potential version of the employee portal. And I say that because the employee portal is really set to be configured and customized to really the look and feel that you would like to represent your organization. Here you can see that we've set one up with some colors, some fonts and designs here for our demo system, but really this could be anything that you would like to really represent what you have, what your intranet looks like, your logos, your designs. Those can all be represented into this. Now, that said, even though we have this design presented, you can also tailor it to what we call personas. So we have a particular persona set up here. You'll see it's personalized. Bills come in. This is what in this demo system is the employee general employee persona. The content I'm showing here, the look and feel is designed for pretty much all of the employees who aren't in management or some of the other groups that I've defined. That said, let's show you one that I designed for the management team. Specifically in this case, it's going to be management in HR, as well as just general managers. The content here, the look and feel still stays the same. I wanted to give something that, if someone gets promoted, it's still going to look similar, slight design changes, but there really is some content differences. So for HR folks, we'd have separate content that could be available. For managers, that could be also general content that could be available. Same if they were to search or look, there'd be content that wouldn't be maybe available to the general employee personas. For an even more highlighting the differences here, we can show something that was designed with contractors in mind. And this was for one of our clients. They wanted a very simple landing page here. They didn't have a lot of content that was going to be available for those folks, but they did want to be able to have the ability to enter certain types of questions that come up commonly, just have some minimal base interactions. But you can see how you can really tailor it for any kind of persona you want. They're going to have a look and feel that's really can be designed based on their needs. And that's something to keep in mind as we go through this. Now, that said, all of our portal content or portal capabilities focus around the ability to have content. So we can provide you links to external sources or places on your intranet, SharePoint, wherever content might exist, even third-party portals that you may have for your medical or maybe your 401k plan, for example. You provide all those links. It's made to work seamlessly in your existing content and intranet. But where you do have a need to create your own content, you're going to leverage things where you want to publish information. Maybe you have a working from home policy, for example, and you want to be able to leverage content that you can publish on your own time frame with your own input and take advantage of tools that are built into the system like feedback mechanisms. So you can get instant feedback from employees, let you know if the content is relevant, if it's up to date, if there's any issues with the content. You'll also notice other tools such as the ability to provide attachments or the related widget here that's always surfacing information related to any searches or content on the page. The idea here is people that are coming here, they want to self-service, they want to find information, and they want to find it easily and quickly. They don't want to have to struggle to find this information. So the idea here is if they're not on the page they kind of expected, we want to at least give them additional opportunities to see it, find it right at their fingertips. And indeed, we find that well thought out employee portals can sometimes reduce the number of cases coming in as much as 50%. So that really shows how this can be leveraged as a tool. In addition, you're always going to have situations where not every case is going to provide all the information that's available. There's still going to be a need to create cases. And that's where we have forms where employees can enter questions in. They may have a general question that they're just entering in. I remember the days of going to the office. Maybe they have a dress code question. And again, these surface things are going to be coming up where maybe they will find it before they actually enter it. If there was a simple question like that, we can take them to a content page that's really focused on that content. And here you'll see part of the dress code policy that was dressed up with some examples, some information. The idea here is you can really leverage this to kind of deflect some of those general questions that might come up time and time again. But because we have menus, we also can have very specific questions that are tailor-made, and the form can be tailored to that. Maybe we have a question that we run into with a missing paycheck, for example. Here I've got a form that pops up. I've got all the information because I know they're requesting missing pay. where we can tailor it to basically design it so that we can route that information once it goes through as a case to the team that we need to have respond to it. We can have different information put into the form, reminders, anything we want to tailor into that template to really help get all the information we need up front, rather than having to have that second and third touch that sometimes occurs when you're dealing with employees that have too general or too not enough information to follow up on the case. And finally, we can show you how we can really kind of combine all that information to create a case. Here's a vacation option. We're doing several things here all in one page. One, we're surfacing some information about the employee. Here they've got the vacation allowance. We've got buttons that will take them to different areas if they need to go to a system to say take off their time and put in that request. We're not reinventing the wheel. They can be redirected, or they can just be redirected to a form to enter a question. And as well as facts, FAQs, things that might help solve any questions before they go there. If they do need to put in a request, simply enter in that request. It fills out some of the information. Maybe they just have a question about a half days. How do I do that? When they enter in a question through the portal, it's going to give them this nice interface. It logs their question, shows them where they came from, so that anyone responding to this will have that as context, or could maybe see about fixing the pages to give them more information about things like a half day. They can follow up with notes, files, even close the case if they find a resolution before anyone has a chance to look at it. And this becomes a nice way for them to go, rather than tracking everything, maybe say through email. They can go and follow their cases. Here you can see a list of cases that they have. He can focus on just the open cases, and he can track and see when he's got updates to cases, or if he needs a two-way interaction, if there's any responses, those are going to come in line here. So HR has the ability to send specific messages to have sort of a back and forth through here in working through that case. Now, we're going to get to the HR side in a minute, but before we do, I just want to cover one other aspect. So this is the portal interface. This shows you how you can leverage sort of that self-service model. But what if someone wants something a little bit more interactive? And that's where HR Copilot comes in. We can leverage HR Copilot. This is our AI chat-enabled chatbot. Gives you the ability to respond and enter different questions, have a seamless interface. So I'm going to take you through some scenarios where Chatbot can work seamlessly with the portal as well as other systems to be more of an interactive response, with still leveraging material here and not involving HR directly. So I'm going to switch over to a different environment we have here for our AR chatbot, which is HR Copilot. Here you'll see that it's going to come up, prompt them for how it can be of service. And we're going to start off with a simple question about benefits. And in this case, it's going to redirect the employee to a page in the portal for those benefits. And again, you can see how we're surfacing information about the plan. Again, they could access this through a regular self-service portal search, but the Copilot shows how it can really assist, redirect, help them get to that same information where we're seeing how we can really leverage all that content that's already in the portal. What about a question about the payslip? Well, again, we can provide links. Maybe that's another system. In this case, it says, here's a link to your pay system. It'll take you right to your pay stub for this individual employee. Another one, this is a really interesting one. Verification letter. A lot of HR staff have to deal with these over and over and over. So here's one where we've actually got a letter designed in the portal. It's got all the employees' information, and all they have to do then is just save it to PDF or print it from their computer so that they can have that verification letter ready to go and available. Really could save a lot of time. You can see how the tool can kind of direct them directly to where they need to go, and this can be a real time saver. Now, the next interaction we're doing is with someone who's saying, hey, I'm sick. What do I do when I'm sick? Maybe they're new. It specifies that the policy is to notify their manager, and even offers to do that for the employee. Here, we're using the Zoom interface to show that it can send an SMS directly. This is an interaction or an integration with another app besides using the portal. So don't feel that this only is something that works for the portal. We can show here how we can interact with other systems. We'll show some additional as we go through this, but I just wanted you to understand this can go spread across and beyond just the portal itself to provide those kind of interactions. This is a really interesting one from the natural language processing capability. You'll see that we put in quite a bit of text, and it's still able to pick out that it's relating to bullying, and it presented 3 options. What are the options that it wanted to do? And so it decides, okay, we're going to select reporting a workplace injury, and it takes us right to that form. But it's picking out from all of that text, what exactly are they getting? It's bullying. There's some different options related to bullying. Let's go ahead. Some other examples I'm going to show you right here are the ability of a natural language model to take and summarize text. So here's the whole policy in one little snippet for parental leave. Another one is just asking about, can you give career guidance? So again, it's coming up with a little summary of the things it could do, suggestions for career guidance, and it's providing a link. Now we see where that content is coming from. It was able to summarize all this, give the employee enough information to decide, is it worth me reading through all this? Is there really details here that I want to explore more, or is that enough for what I was asking? Now our next one is back to that vacation. If you remember when I was showing, here's another example where rather than looking for that page, you can just get the immediate days. If that's all they wanted to know, they didn't have to go and click on that. It can just provide the direct response and those details. And as a further actions with this AI capabilities is the ability for it to have this two-way conversation, exploring what it would like to do with some hours, and the employee wants to donate them. So it's walking through a process, and you'll note confirmations all the way through to identify, do we want to do some donation of hours, confirm the amount, confirm the employee's identity. And at this point, we could either create a case and then someone could take over and follow through with the actual request, or we could actually build that integration in so they could submit that directly, depending on the systems involved and what your requirements are. So these are all things to keep in mind and think about as part of that interactive capability and the ability for AI to be leveraged. And this is another example of working with another application. So we have a request for a password change. Sometimes HR gets requests that aren't really for the HR team. It identifies that, asks if it would like to have it submitted, and it's submitting that request into the remedy system, knowing that it doesn't belong in HR, but still being able to assist with that request and support it. So another example of how that AI chat capability with Copilot can really bridge across different systems and different environments. Another one I want to show you here is how we can actually leverage it in MS Teams. So similar examples I'm going to show you, but this case, we've actually integrated with MS Teams to show that we're not restricted from within that portal interface. We can create, people's normal chat interactions take place within MS Teams. Why not have the ability to leverage the AI right from that interface? And again, we can go from MS Teams, have it pull up those portal pages. You'll see how it can provide the same responses for the payslip, or maybe that interaction where we have the request for a verification. And we don't have to go through all of these examples, but I just did want to replicate and show how we have the ability to really spawn that from different interfaces as well. All right, so why don't we go back to our live environment here? And I think what we'll do now is we will take all this information. So far we've been focusing on the employee experience, but I think it's a good time now to put our HR or ER hat on and show how do we handle these cases? What do we do with these cases? How can we make it easy on the back end for the HR teams? Let's close that down, and we're going to flip over to the interface for case management. So we've logged in now. We are switching hats. We are logged in as for the case management console. We're logged in as Annie McDonald. She sees her My Cases view. When she comes into the system, she has a view of all the cases that she's working on. It's a nice way to immediately see, here's what I have for work in progress. This is a configurable interface. You can drag and drop these fields any way you like. You have a variety to choose from, so you can really tailor it to what you'd like to see, and you can sequence these into any format that you would like. A couple things that stand out too, you're going to notice. One is that we have some hyperlinks. These will take you directly into, say, the case or directly into an employee profile. These employee tags are going to be popping up as we go through the demo. Think of this as like a flagging mechanism. Anything you would like to know about the employee involved in the case up front, have a nice visual. You can have tags created as part of our implementation process. We work with you to either have these automatically provided through the data feed that we receive for the employees, through manual processes where you might want to apply a certain one in a certain circumstance, or through automation. So this is there's an automation rules engine in the system that you can leverage for a variety of automations and workflows, and among those is to be able to apply tags in certain circumstances. We also have the ability to create SLAs in the system. Here you see I've got SLAs as my defining method for sorting my cases based on how much time is available and how critical they are. You don't have to use SLAs, but certainly we find folks that even if they're not using them currently, wish to in the future. This gives you the ability to see how you can use it, how you can leverage it. You can apply them either as a benchmark, or you can get really detailed in using them in workflows, using them with automation of alerts as you're going through the cases, and also use them in escalations. Okay, so this takes us through, we've covered this interface. Now you understand, what you're looking at. There are some other views, and this also ties in with how do we get some of these cases that were created, for example. Now, I'm going to expand out the views here, and you'll see we're in the My Cases view. In addition to this, there's a My Solutions view. This is for the knowledge base. There's a knowledge base system. I'm going to show you how those are used in the cases. And then we have cases in My Queues. Queues, think of those as inboxes for different teams to work on cases. And we can create workflows for how those cases flow through. I should also point out at this point that the system is also role and permission based. So I have allowed Annie to have all the permissions in the world. She's sort of like a master administrator, so I can show you lots of capabilities and features. And as such, you can see all of these queues or team inboxes. And you can actually see from here that we've created sort of a two-tiered structure for the teams. We have initial cases coming through, or cases where there's decided to be rather simple or not enough information to decide who they go to. And then I have various queues for different teams based on their functional areas. This is completely configurable too. We could have areas based on geography as well. It could be other things that you'd like to decide that those are different teams that need to be represented. Not everybody would typically see these, though. Keep that in mind as well. So, for example, we have another individual here, Frank. Frank's in the system, and he represents ER. This is probably more what a typical view might look like, where Frank only has access to the ER cases. He's not seeing cases for other teams. He also assists with the help desk, so he has access to that as well. But that's a representation of how you can see how that role and permissions, it's really going to tailor not just what cases you have access to, but it can also be what features in the systems and what employees you have access to as well. Now, if you remember that portal view, we had entered a case about time off. We should be able to find that in here. If I go to the queues here, we'll be able to check and see, hey, did he enter his request for time off? In here, I believe I had it routed automatically to benefits because that was his benefits. And there you go. There's Bill's case. If someone was going from the benefits team, or in this case, Annie was accessing it, she'd simply click on it. She'll see the note that was logged. Here's all the information that was pulled in as part of that case. So it's set up, ready to go, ready to be worked on. And she just simply has to go to the workflow button and accept it. And now it will appear as part of her cases to work on. So that brings up a good question. All I showed you is how to get that case created and what it looked like. let's actually take you through a walkthrough of actually creating a case. I'm going to do this manually so you can get a sense for how cases are created, what was automated otherwise, and then we'll follow up, just kind of take you through a life cycle of a case at the end after we finish up with the analytics. All right, so we're going to start off by entering in a case title. Again, this might be automated in the case of email or portal. Maybe we have a thing about dress code. Someone's calling in, they have a question, and one of the things you'll notice is these matching solutions. Well, right off the top, there's a dress code item right here. That would be very useful to be able to reference if I'm on a call on that level 1 help desk and I just have to say, can we wear jeans on Friday? Well, here's the document that you might have remembered from the portal view. So this shows you that not only can we create knowledge items that could be very useful for the agent solving it, they could copy this, they could paste it, they could read it off, but we can also publish these to the portal so that these types of knowledge items can serve dual duty if you say, hey, this would be a really helpful item for employees to be able to see in the portal. So that's something to think about when it comes to that leveraging of the knowledge and how we can use that to deflect cases on the portal side. But in this case, I think we're going to focus on a more different case. Maybe we'll focus on someone has a missing paycheck. The next thing we need to do to capture this is we need to enter an employee. Maybe we will start with our friend Logan. You'll see as I start typing names, before I even finish, it's going to present names to me. First name, last name. It will find the name, even the email address or ID. You don't have to know how to spell it. It's going to present them and save you time from finishing whatever you're typing. And again, you'll see those tags coming to light as a very helpful element there. Next, we need to do is add our case type. Now, keep in mind as I go through the rest of this demo, all of the dropdowns are configurable. We will set those up the way you would like to see those on day one, but we do give you the administrative capabilities, or at least someone with the role and responsibility and permissions for that, that they can change these over time. The system's made to grow with you, and all of these dropdowns should be configurable to the way you would like those as time changes. And we'll select that missing paycheck. You'll see some general items like status, priority, whether or not you want to use those, whether you want different items, that's certainly up to you. But you will also notice when I selected the missing paycheck, I get configurable fields or custom fields specific to this type of case. And that allows you to extend out what types of information you're capturing. It is certainly a great tool when it comes to being able to capture information, especially if you're going to have a tiered mechanism where certain people will be maybe taking in cases, but not necessarily responding to them if they're not able to provide the expertise, but at least they're asking the right questions up front. This serves sort of as a script where people can enter in all the information they can gather at the first point of intersection with the employee, capture that information, send this off so that at least there's more information coming to the case if they, even if they're not the person who ultimately works on that. And it serves as a better method than just having a free-form notes, or at least in conjunction with free-form notes. All right, so let's go ahead and create this case. I want to hurry up and get you to that next page. This should look familiar now. I want you to see, hey, look, we've got the case created. This should look familiar. We had this with the portal view. We didn't go into the detail, but what you have here is different information. We have the employee. Actually, I should have showed you this on the previous page. I apologize. I'm sorry, but there's 3 dots here that always appear next to an employee. And this is to open up the employee profile view. The information at the top here is the basic information you'd need to identify and contact an employee. The information below this line is optional information, but things to get you thinking about what would be helpful for you when you're resolving a case, because time after time we have clients that say, we have to go to different screens, different systems, different places to find all the information we need to get going on a case. And it'd be really helpful if we knew things like the manager, for example, or the manager's contact number. Those are the types of information that if you can provide that in the feed, we work with you, have that set up, and then build out this profile view so it's really available at your fingertips, regardless of whether you're already in a case that we've created or that previous screen where we're creating the case and I need to see some of that information up front. Those are the kinds of things that I want to always be able to see and tell if it's available. Other items and items that I wanted to actually show previously before we even created the case are things like previous cases. So if I had not clicked right away and been in a hurry to get this case open, I might have been able to check first the previous cases. Hey, were there duplicates? And am I about to duplicate this case? Is there another case that maybe she emailed in? That might be my opportunity to either open this case, or if I made the mistake here, I could close this case down and just go back to the one that was already opened. You certainly have the ability to check that. It's really useful if you have employees that are answer shopping. They're going out and calling in multiple times till they get kind of that yes answer. So that's a great way to leverage that previous cases, or at least be able to see history. Also, if you're in ER and you're trying to look to see, is there any sort of history of inappropriate behavior or problems of different circumstance, that can also be a really useful tool to have at your fingertips. Okay, so we've created the case, and I still haven't told you how to enter in information for the case. So let's get started with that. The first thing we'd want to do is log information to the case. We can do that through notes and email. Here, again, I can categorize these, and it's a configurable item here to specify how are we going to categorize these, but then I have the ability to add notes, rich text, colors, links, tables, you name it. Drop some pictures in here or paste in a whole document that you've done in maybe Word. It's going to keep that formatting as you paste it in. So that's a great feature to be able to add your notes, even if it's really detailed, or we can just type in those details as we go. Also keep in mind, if you ever use things repetitively, you're entering in the same text for different portions of a case or different steps in a case, you can create templates to reuse that so you don't have to enter in all those keystrokes every time. Maybe in this case, we have a missing paycheck form and we want to just have a little quick list, and I should be checking these off every time. Rather than having to remember, I've got a nice little form. I can have those entered in. You see how we can have colors and different formatting capabilities available. And I don't have to remember to add each of these elements each time. I just enter that and I can say yes or no if I've checked these. Makes it simple and makes it consistent across the organization. And this becomes even more useful when it comes to things like email. So if I want to leverage email in the system, you can email directly from the system. We have an email client built in that we will integrate with your email. That allows us to send emails directly to the employee from the system, or it could be a different employee. It could be someone not even in the system. All I'd have to do is delete this, change it, and we don't have to use Logan. But since I was using Logan for this example, we'll stick with her. If I want to send a note to her, type it away, enter it in from something else I have, or leverage those templates again. And maybe I have a note about missing paychecks where I typically have my response already set up about reviewing it, and I just want to give her some more information. Here's that email. It's filling it out with information right from the case. I've highlighted that in blue for your viewing, not so much for it to be actually something you'd have required. And then I could always edit. I can modify, change this a little bit, add some additional notes if I want. But in the end, I can then send the email directly from the system, have it logged to the case, and you'll see all the case information gets logged here, regardless of who ends up working the case. If I reassign it, if I go on vacation, whoever picks it up is going to be able to see all the information right from the case, not have to worry about things being in my inbox or my Outlook that they couldn't see. Other items you can add to the cases include things like files. If you want to use this as a place where you're going to park information, if you have documents that you need to send out, this is where I could just do a drag and drop to grab some files. You can do multiple files at once, and I'll just grab this, even though this isn't the one I wanted to look for. But you could imagine anything I have on my available list of documents on a share that I might be able to send, or a document I had drafted that I want to have available in the case, maybe for other folks to see as they're working the case, or maybe just to send out. And it's just going to go through a quick virus scan, and then it becomes available in the system. And then another item to note is child cases. So I can create a whole separate case. Maybe I need to have someone else check with the payroll provider. Maybe I have legal to check. Maybe I need, there's other questions I have for someone else. Create a child case. You can assign a separate piece of work. This is often used like with more complicated cases, say like an ER investigation, where I might have one person checking for harassment, and they may decide, hey, I need to have legal check some information for me. I may need to check expenses with payroll. So you might create multiple child cases in that process. And the advantage here is you can change all of the information and still have it linked to the existing case. So I could have this, be a legal review, for example. Maybe you thought something funny is going on around this reporting on legal, and I assign this to my legal team, and I change all the information, which I won't do here. But even though it's not related to that case, it's still tied to that existing case. And if I go back to that initial case, you'll see you have the visibility to that child case. I could follow this along, even though if I assign this to the legal team to review it, I know when it's open, I can follow the status until it's closed, and I know that that's maybe not an issue for this particular issue of the missing paycheck. And one other tab here, often used for ER cases, but could be used for anything. Do you have any other involved parties? You can create your own list of potential items for here, that parties that you want to track, but it could be other agencies. Obviously, witness list is a common use. But you can see some other examples here where there may be other parties that you may need to keep track of as part of a case. Here is a place to put that information, leverage it. If it's an employee, you can find them. And if it's an external employee, you can also do that and just add in their information as well. All right, so that kind of takes us through everything we need to do to start building up the information for a case, tracking all that information, developing that history right through to the point where we're ready to close the case, or maybe dispatch it to another group that might have to do some more advanced work if I've done all my research and I know I need more experienced help. But other questions that would probably come up at this point involve things like, how do we do our analytics? How do we get reporting on all this information? How will we track this information? So that's where I want to take us through to our reporting capabilities. And then after we do that, I'll do one wrap up where I just take you through a case end to end from an email all the way through to see how we can do that. Actually, I'll do that first, and then we'll go to the reporting, because I just want to make sure it's clear to how a case gets started, how all these different moving parts interact till we get a case resolved. So let's go ahead and we will jump to email example. This is a case where we're going to create a case through email using Outlook. And what we have here is an email that's been drafted. You'll notice that we have an attachment explaining the evidence for the missing paycheck item, details which have some specific formatting, as well as an image that's been put in there. And so now when they submit, again, we're the employee submitting this as a case, they are going to then get a response here in a second. When the system has received that email, it will create a response to say, hey, we have a case. It's now case 3595. You can see a well-formatted message. You have the ability to configure how you want this formatting and what this message should be. In this particular case, we've created a link not so that it can take them directly to the case in the employee portal. So you remember that portal view we had. Here's the case. It's been created. They can see what was created from their email. They have full view. It looks just like the email did. So hopefully you saw that formatting there. And then maybe there's an opportunity for them to add some additional details. They forgot when they see it in the full email. They're like, oh, you know what? I should let them know that this is really urgent, and I'm going to have to follow up today. And so now we've got both a message from email and a message through the portal that's been generated. Now, when we switch over to Annie, she's going to come to a queue. And in this case, there was a queue for payroll that's specifically for emailed in cases. She'll find that. She can go in there and see it. And there's a preview function that we can expand out if she wants to see that. When she selects the case, again, she's going through those steps that I was showing you before. This might be a place where you can see, hey, what is her pay cycle? Is there any information related to her pay that might indicate some information? I can note how much time I have for the SLA, so I need to close this in an hour. And then you see some of the details that were pulled in from the case as part of the routing, part of the system to take in that email and knowing what's going on. And I have all the information right in front of me that has already been entered. So she accepts the case, and now she's ready to work it. She's going to reply to that email. Just give a simple note to Logan, letting her know that she's going to look into it. Could be information that she'd also have found as part of that initial research, or maybe anything she knew up front. But in this case, she's just going to look into it and send that email back. So now we can go back and see how does the employee see that information. And we'll take a look at that in 1 second. There's that reply email. Again, everything's in line. The whole history is there, just as you expect with a regular email back and forth from your personal work email, your Outlook. But again, it's all going into one spot in the system. In this case, they're responding through email. Again, they could also respond through the portal. We've got those different interaction methods all available to the employee, and all these different methods for the HR caseworker to be able to respond to the employee. So we're going to jump ahead here and assume that they did their research, that they figured everything out, and they're ready to close the case. So just imagine that has taken place. They've marked the case resolved. The case now shows as closed. And if we switch back, you'll see some automatic emails that close out the case. It lets her know that the case has been closed. The case could potentially be reopened either through the portal or through a reply to that email. And then we have a follow-up email, which is our survey capability. So you can have a message asking how we did. Did it meet their satisfaction? A survey rating mechanism that they could follow up on. And that really takes us through the end-to-end view of the case. So that was very fast. I hope that gives you that kind of picture of how things would progress from start to finish, leveraging all these different tools that we've presented today. And I do want to finish off just showing you, let's take it up a level. Let's see, how do we report on all this information? How do we leverage it for the HR team to manage, the overall picture of the cases they're working on? And we do that through our reporting module. So if I go up here to our reports, I've actually generated that already, so you can see. I have various reports here that I pulled up. The first thing I want you to note is this is a dashboard, not a report. So I should have pointed out that we have both dashboards and reports. There are over 80 of them in the system out of the box. And I'll just expand that out so you can see that real quickly here. These little locks indicate all the ones that are out of the box. There's a whole variety. As part of the implementation, we'll work with you to get familiar, understand what is available. And if you see things that aren't available that you would like, we leverage these as templates. So we can copy them, make adjustments, change maybe date ranges, change types, or create a case all from scratch, a report from scratch. So you can see, different users have different reports that have been created as templates, and they can access those here. So speaking of back to the dashboard, so this was one that we tailored a little bit. It has some specific KPIs across the top, some specific graphical components on the bottom. Any of these can be leveraged to view and also provide you drill down capabilities, so we can get right down to the specific cases themselves. One thing you'll note is you're seeing all these different cases from all these different groups. Your permissions travel with you. Remember that I was in here as Annie. Annie has accesses to all the cases so that I could show you that. not everyone would necessarily see all these cases. They'd only see the cases they have access to, and the metrics would change accordingly. So even though we have a certain layout, we can leverage that for multiple teams. And here we can still show you how we can get right down to that case if we didn't understand why those metrics were the way they were. And back to reusing that layout, we can also further that with filters. So we can have filters that can change the metrics, could be based on different departments, different users, different geographies, anything you would like to filter the data but still leverage the same layout. You can add these filters in here and make that available as well. Other items to think about include things like reports. So we've got trending reports. You want to see your reports, your trend going down, and if things are going the wrong direction, you want to be able to get in front of those, interact with those up front. If you have ownership, you want to be able to see trends in ownership, what caseloads look like, and again, being able to do drill downs for those. Site reports or source reports, think of sites as geographies, buildings, locations, departments. You want to be able to track and see what cases are coming from where, and you also want to be able to aggregate cases based on different factors. If your graphics don't really support, don't look right for a particular thing, you can change those on the fly, so keep that in mind. And then also we have the ability to show different metrics against each other. And here you could see if I was just to report out the SLA violations, which is the blue items here, it wouldn't really tell a very good, interesting story. It wouldn't tell you anything about it because you'd see Abby and Frank look virtually the same. But when you compare it to the totals, it tells quite a different story. It makes Frank look quite a bit more productive. Now, it doesn't tell you if Frank's handling the easier cases and she's the most seasoned person handling the hardest cases there are, so they don't necessarily expect her to handle that many. But it does present how those different metrics really can be valuable together. And then finally, any reports you have, you can save them, give them a name that allows you to schedule the report so it can be sent automatically to a distribution list or to yourself. Various formats are available, and you can pick that schedule for how often you want them sent. And then I just have one last thing to show in terms of reports, and that's our ad hoc reporting capability. We do that under the query function. Query function gives us this nice little pick list of fields. There's an extensive list of fields that you can choose from. Allows you to do things like deciding I want the open cases. So that would be condition equals open. Someone like Annie can very quickly and easily see all the open cases. I can build different parameters in, maybe by case type, maybe by employees, departments, organizations, anything I want to do to slice and dice this information. An interesting one here is modified. If I wanted to select all the cases that haven't been modified in more than, say, 4 days, oops. If I apply that, I can see of the 167 here, 44 have not been modified in 4 days. That could be something useful to follow up on. And to do that, we simply give it a name. Once I've done that, I get various options. I can share it with my team. I can download it as an Excel and create my own file. That allows me to just have that something that I can work on. And then lastly, I could also make it a favorite. And this kind of rounds out our exploration here with the favorite queries, where now I have a list of queries that I run regularly rather than having to go through these steps. I can just click on any of these, including now my agent cases, and get that information at the drop of a hat, have that information updated as of that minute. And that takes us through all of the capabilities for the portal, for the case management system, and some of the reporting features as well. So with that, I am going to flip things over for David, and we will come back to our discussion. And David could close us out what we've seen today.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it. We started in the employee experience, and we explored how employees can self-serve and get access to a myriad of personalized material. They still can't answer their questions, or they just want to work with an HR representative, they have the ability to do that directly through the portal experience. Then we moved over to the HR experience. That's that deep, rich case management and workflows. We saw how users of the Dovetail HR can personalize their day-to-day work view within the user interface console. We even saw how they can leverage the query function within that console as well and personalize that. Finally, hopefully you got a taste of how we can derive actionable insights from the data we're now saving simply by using case management. I'll note a few more quick things as we wrap up today. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email that contains a link to a webinar that Crystal Carter recently presented. Crystal oversees Danone's HR service delivery team. They've done a particularly terrific job tuning their Dovetail employee portal to provide their associates answers to common questions, and they've eliminated an extremely high volume of inbound questions and requests to that team. But most importantly, they've done that while simultaneously delivering the highest associate rating scores her team's ever received. If you do think of questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll follow up on those personally. Lastly, please consider joining us on May 30th for a detailed dive into our GenAI HR Copilot. And guys, that concludes our webinar. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully it was informative, insightful, and we wish you the best in all your HR endeavors. Cheers.